Hi there, this is Nick Devine, founder of the Print Coach and developer of the Elephant Hunting System, and welcome to this video. If you remember in the previous video, we spoke about the domino effect, and what we discussed there is if you get your team relentlessly focused on tasks related to bigger projects and bigger outcomes they need to produce in the business, quite quickly over a consistent period of time, you can start to knock down larger and larger projects in your business. Well, we're going to stay on that theme this video. What we're going to talk about here is through your people, how do you get more done without less follow-up? I've ran lots of groups of people in lots of different environments, and one of the things that used to drive me mad is I'd sit down with my team, we talk about a whole bunch of things that need to get done. The next time we got together, I discovered that a large portion of it hadn't even been started, not to mind completed. So then we'd re-talk about it, and we'd have these what I call circular conversations. We end up talking about the same things week after week, or we talk about it this month, drop it for 2 months, get excited about it again, come back to it again. 3 months later, we're still not making progress. And I'd be looking at things a year later and going, we've spoken about this 7, 8, 10 times, and it's still not happening. And I'm probably like you. I've tried a lot of different things. I've attended a lot of time management courses. I bought a lot of these things, the clever zippered folders with all the tabs and the organizing pages. They were good. They made a difference. They just didn't make that difference. I've invested in a lot of these things, the clever smartphone technology with all the clever apps. They made an impact. They just didn't make the impact. So what I'm now down to is single sheets of paper and pens, technology we can get any place. And we're going to talk about how you can use that type of technology in your office to massively improve the productivity of you and your group of people. So let's get stuck into some of that content right now. The people in your company really are the most valuable resource you've got, and depending on the structure of your business, it's probably your biggest overhead each month as well. So your leadership skill, so capability as a leader in your business, whether you're the owner, MD, sales director, your ability to lead and focus those people is a critical skill in the management of your organization. So it's a skill definitely to master. And we spoke in the last video about the planning pyramid and the ability using the domino effect as the metaphor. How do you line up the projects on a weekly, daily, and quarterly and annual basis? So each week and each day that goes past, we're making measurable progress on the things that are most important. What I'm going to talk about here is what are the things you do to make sure when you get together as a group, you're maximizing that time together, so you're making major progress on important goals. And it's a very simple system. There's 3 things you need to think about when you get together as a group. And I'll show you what this looks like. You can do this with an A4 sheet of paper or a flip chart sheet of paper. It's really simple. And as you'll often hear me say, don't be deceived by the elegance of this. It's taken me a lot of work often to get complex ideas down to single A4 sheets of paper, which people tend to use more effectively than complex systems. So 2 things I want you to think about, the first 2 things you're looking on the slide there, before you go into a meeting, and then when you walk out of the meeting, I want you to think about the third thing. So here's what it looks like. 2 questions to ask yourself when you're going into a meeting: staff meeting, project review meeting, it doesn't matter what it is, sales meeting. First one is, what's the outcome of the meeting? So when we walk out of this meeting, how do we know this has been a good use of time? Because you lock 4 or 6 people in a room for now, that's a really expensive meeting by the time you tally up the opportunity costs and the payroll costs of those people. So you want to make sure you're maximizing the output of that resource. So 2 questions: what's the outcome of the meeting? So what does good look like when we walk out? And the second question, which is a really interesting one, is what decisions do we need to make in this meeting, if any? Often in kind of management meetings or supervisor meetings, you need to make decisions on certain things. But often people aren't clear. We need to make decisions, so we end up talking about things and talking around things, but not specifically making decisions. So you may need to make a decision about a project. You may need to make a decision about a particular person in a team, an acquisition you're making, a kind of a purchase. Be clear about what those are. So every meeting you go in to ask those 2 questions. Then when you walk out of a meeting and when you start the subsequent meeting, I want you to think about the top 3 outcomes and get them on a flip chart. So here's what I mean by this. So when you do this, you'll get a lot more done. You'll get it done a lot faster. So let's say we're now walking into your first management meeting, having gone through this video. At the end of the meeting, what you're going to do is you're going to walk around, and let's say there's you and 2 other people in the meeting, and the other 2 people are John and Mary. And you say, okay, we've discussed a number of things at the meeting. John, the 3 commitments you've got are, and you write them up in a flip chart. And a flip chart is the best place to do this, by the way. You write them up in a flip chart. So John, specific outcome 1 or commitment 1, 2 and 3. Then you go, Mary, your commitments for before we get back together the next time are, you need to book meetings with this person, this person and this person. You need to make major progress on that project we're doing with a client, and we need to get some people in for interviews for the role that we've got vacant at the moment. And then you'd write those commitments in the flip chart. Then the flip chart stays there, so you want it visible. Obviously, if you're using a customer meeting room, you take it out while the customer's in, but you want that sheet visible so your people can see it every day that goes past. And then when you get together the next time, the first thing you do is you say, okay, John, when we were together a week ago, you had 3 commitments you needed to make progress on. Walk us through the progress you've made. Mary, walk us through the progress you've made on your 3 commitments. And you just cycle the same process. So as soon as you've got the updates, you take that sheet off the flip chart, bin it, and then at the end of your meeting, you go through the exact same process again. Say, John, 3 new commitments before we get back together. Mary, your 3 new commitments before we get back together again. So the process is very, very, very simple. But what it starts to do is it starts to train people. You've got to be accountable for following through on action points or outcomes or commitments you make in your staff meetings. Very simple, very, very, very effective. And when you use this in conjunction with the planning pyramid, it's a very elegant pair of tools. Now, what I recommend you did in terms of implementing this is just make a commitment for the next 4 weeks just to test the process. You've learned everything you need to know. There's nothing new to learn. So all you need is a sheet of paper and a pen or a flip chart and a pen. So just commit for 4 weeks. I'm going to try this and just see what happens. And you'll be very amazed. I can tell from experience doing this at actually what happens in terms of accountability using the process. So it's very cool. We get a lot of really good feedback from the clients on this. You've heard me talk in the previous videos. Obviously, IPEX is coming up pretty soon. I mentioned in a video going back a few weeks ago that the co-host in Cross Media. Cross Media is a different show. In Cross Media, what they talk about is how do you build, deliver and manage communication programs across multiple platforms. It's a separate show, but they're run by IR, so the same people behind IPEX. They're co-hosting it on the 25th to 27th of March. So I'm not sure what dates you've decided to visit IPEX on, but you may want to make sure that one of those 3 dates is part of that schedule, because then you can do 2 shows for the price of 1. Because sometimes, we've got a lot going on in business. It's hard to visit multiple shows over the course of a year. So this is it's kind of a 2-for-1 offer. So I think it's pretty nifty. So do take the opportunity to visit that. If you want to get the handout with the structure for the system we just went through, we've prepared a 1-page PDF handout that's got the 3 critical things you need to know on it. So depending on where you're watching this, you can go to theprintcoach.com/8. You'll come to a page like this where you can put in your details and your video comment. The 2 things I'm interested in the video comment area, one is what's your biggest insight or your biggest takeaway from the content you just went through? And the second thing I'm interested in is if you run a group of people, so your manager, MD, owner, sales director, that type of role, what challenges do you have in terms of getting your people to execute on the right things fast? So if you tell me what those challenges are, that enables me to put together content in these video series that's going to match the requirements you have. So we'll be able to customize what we're doing for your particular requirements. So that's all. We'll be back in a week's time with the next video in the series. So look forward to catching up with you then. In the meantime, have a great day and a fantastic week, and we'll talk to you in a week's time. Bye for now.